Hello, welcome to the Creative Writing Life podcast. I'm Justin Sloan.
And I'm Paul Zeidman, and I'm happy to introduce our very special guest, author Jonathan Yanez. Did I say it right?
Yes, that's
Oh,
correct.
thank
Good
God.
job.
Oh, good. I was really concerned about that.
Yeah, John and I know each other, Jonathan, known each other from for a long time now. We've probably known each other since before 2016, 17 when we wrote some books together, mostly John, but us weighing in on some cool decisional moments, I hope. Werewolves, great stuff. But he's been a really super exciting guy all that time, very enthusiastic, very friendly. And so when I heard about him doing some cool Kickstarters to make some films, I was like, we got to talk about those. And he's on his second one now, which he'll tell us all about. But first, we always do a quick, like, what have you been watching or reading or listening to? So it's a chance to give a shout out to something. We'll go through and do those, and then we'll do an intro to Jonathan and see where it goes. So my quick one is the movies that made us. I've been finally watching all of those on Netflix, and those are so fun. They're just like little 40-minute or so, depending, going through movies like, which ones? Ghostbusters, Home Alone, et cetera, talking about how they got made. And that's just inspiring and overwhelming and awesome. So.
Excellent.
How about you, Paul?
Well, my wife wanted to see this when it was in the theaters, but we never got to it because it disappeared too quickly. And then part of what motivated us to sign up for Peacock was we wanted to watch Renfield. And I think we got about 40 minutes in and just bailed because, oh God, it was so awful.
No.
The writing was bad, and there's no chemistry between Nicholas Hoult and Awkwafina. Like, how do you take a movie with Nicolas Cage as Dracula, and how do you mess that up? It was just we just like turned it off, and I think we watched because it was on Peacock, so we watched the first episode of Poker Face and loved that. So we were able to get that nasty taste out of our mouths.
I haven't seen Poker Face yet. So Renfield, though, yeah, I mean, I think it looked too gory. Like, I think
it's not even that it's gory. It's just boring. It's just it's just a dull storytelling, and it was just hard to. It was just I just don't watch it. That's all I can say. Just don't watch it. It's a tragedy.
I'm gonna prove you wrong. I'm gonna come on next week and be like, that was the best. Yeah,
I would be amazed if you did. I'd be wondering if somebody slipped something into your coffee if that's what was happening.
You never know. Yeah, probably not.
Yeah,
Jonathan, you got anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, I've actually seen both of the projects that you guys are talking about. I watched Renfield, and I have to agree, it wasn't that writers or.
Did you watch the whole thing?
Best. I think I got through it, but I think I got through like halfway, and I realized what it was. So then I was like on my phone most of the time, and it was kind of like playing on in the background. It was like one of those deals. And then the movies that made us is fun too, because as I've gotten into the filmmaking world, right, we're only in year two of making films, so I'm still paying my dues. But it's nice to hear that, projects like Alien and RoboCop and Ghostbusters, they were paying their dues too. Like, they were figuring it out as they went. Like, nobody had the same exact path. It's like some people had the actor first, and then they got the money, and some people had the money first, and then they got the script, and some people had like an IP to a book like Die Hard, but then they had to rewrite it 20 times. And then it's cool to hear everybody's story and to know that, like, whatever your story is, like, it's supposed to be this way. Nobody has it all figured out at first.
For sure. And what's cool is, like, none of them think it's going to be a hit, except for Spielberg, of course. He knew Jurassic Park would be a hit, but all the rest of them, they're like, yeah, we thought we were doing this little nothing, and all of a sudden, boom, it explodes, and that's inspiring. I wondered how we're watching the Home Alone one, Chris Columbus, and I was like wondering how he and John Hughes knew each other. Like, I don't think they specified that, but that's such a great relationship they had. And then I liked Christopher Columbus's thing that he was doing, where he's like, I'm just going to write enough until finally they give me a chance to direct. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So, like, I don't have to go out there and try to prove myself as a director first. I can just keep kicking butt and say, I want to direct. And maybe eventually they'll be like, sure. And then he failed like 3 times before finally one took off. So that's always cool.
But, yeah, it's inspiring to hear those stories.
Did you have an original one, or I think I interrupted you before you could shout out anything additional?
No, I was just adding on to the 2 that you guys had. Yeah, totally agree. I love the movies that made us, and then Renfield, like halfway through, I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to see what's on my phone, like start social mediaing.
Awesome. And I see that you have an Infinity system behind you, and so we'll talk about that, but let's get your bio first. Like, tell our audience who you are.
Oh man, let's see. So I've been writing science fiction fantasy novels for about 11 years. And it was 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, that we started getting into film. Like, hey, what would it look like to be able to start producing our own films? What does it look like to create scripts and then to put a team together, finding directors, raising the money, all the above. So we started getting into that, and we filmed our first project, Infinity System, last January, and it came out last June. So we took it to film festivals, we won a bunch of awards. We earned agents. I never had an agent before, so we got an agent now. We have an entertainment lawyer who's attached to it, shopping it. But now in the meantime, it's not really my nature just to sit around and wait and hope for the best. So we decided to fund another project. So now we're taking Forsaken Mercenary, which is my best-selling IP series, to screen. So the Kickstarter is live now, and it'll be running to early August.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm sure Paul will have a billion questions here, but since I already know a lot about these programs, I'll let him do it. But first, I wanted to ask. So, the new one too, Forsaken Mercenary, it's probably very sci-fi, and I know a lot of filmmakers are intimidated by that fact. But did you feel that maybe this project is a little less intense on the sci-fi, or do you feel that doesn't matter because you guys got that figured out?
Nah, we got it figured out now. So every project that we do, we try to learn, right? So like with Infinity System, we learned kind of like what elements we can get away with and what we can't, and just to use CGI sparingly. So we do have those shots in Infinity System where it's, full CGI, but it's not throughout the whole movie. So it helps with the budget.
For sure. Nice. Paul, did you want to hop in first a little bit, since you're
I have a couple of I have questions. First, I want to get back to your background, but about Infinity System, is that available? Is it on streaming anywhere? So like for those of us who are unaware of it, to take a look.
Right. So Infinity System is episode 1. This is a serial that we had planned. So we took it to the film festival route, and then I asked my agent, I'm like, hey, is there any reason not to put it on YouTube? And she's like, no. She's like, you can put it on YouTube. That will only help as we're shopping it. So we just put it on 2 weeks ago. So it's been on YouTube for the last 2 weeks, but already has thousands and thousands of views. So we're super appreciative and grateful for people coming and checking out our work.
Oh, that's excellent. So, okay, great. We'll probably have a link somewhere in the show notes at least. And then Justin's pretty good about that. So, okay, so let's get back to just your writing background. So, I mean, have you always been a writer, or did you kind of like stumble into it? Like a teacher at school said, "Hey, you got some talent here, kid. Let's see what you can do with it." And then how did you get into the sci-fi fantasy realm?
No, so I always liked reading, and I thought being a writer would be cool, but I didn't really have a path. Like there was nobody around me who I knew was a writer, nobody to tell me like, oh yeah, you should do X, Y, and Z. So I went to school, I got my English degree, and then started working a job in sales and management. And then, did not like that job, but I was just stuck in it. So after 5 years of working that job that I didn't like, I would always write on the side. That was like my escape, right on the side, kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like maybe try to figure out what an agent was or how to query, but never really serious about it. So eventually 5 years in, I just decided one day, like, I can't do this anymore. I got to the point where I didn't even want my boss's job. I'm like, if I'm not even here because I don't want my boss's job, he hates his job. He's not even making that much more money than I am. Like, that's my future if I stay here. So I just quit one day, like a cold turkey, just quit, cashed in my 401k, and put my back against the wall and said that I'm going to make this writing thing work. And I told my wife after the fact. She didn't know that I quit my job and then I was cashing my 401k. That was 1 year into our marriage. So you can imagine that went over well. And then I started personal training part-time so I could bring in some part-time money while I wrote full-time. And then that's when I was just like figuring things out, figuring out, what it meant to be an author, how long are books supposed to be, what genres do I want to write in, all the above.
So you are working on your books while you're also working part-time. So how did you get to the publishing phase? I mean, did you find a publisher? Did you self-publish?
So early on for my first series, I found a publisher, but then I realized how much of a percentage, for me at least, my journey, I realized how much a percentage they take, and I'm like, oh, I can do this. I can find an editor and I can find a cover designer and I can keep a larger portion of the profit if I just publish myself. So I don't have anything bad to say about them. I still talk to them like they were a great company to work with. But I started publishing books on my own year or 2 years into writing, and then just never looked back, just kept on publishing myself.
No, so now you're just a one-man empire.
Yeah, so we started building our empire. My wife left her job and quit to come. So now we have a small group of employees who work for us, helping with like social media and marketing and all that kind of stuff. And but now it's kind of come full circle because with Infinity System, the TV show, it didn't exist in a book format. It was just original idea. So the agent who signed us asked if she could shop it as a series. like a full series to like the big publishing houses. So like, sure. So who knows? We might go from having a publisher and then, breaking off on my own for like 9 years to now circling back and getting an agent with another publisher.
What was it that made you want to make that transition from books into, I guess, film/TV?
I mean, I've always loved, stories in any format, whether they be comic books or video games or TV. I love it all. So when we kind of, it's kind of like we found out how to hunt deer really, really well, right? How to write and publish a book and be successful and, have my wife quit her job and come and work for our company. Like we got really good at writing and publishing books. And I'm not saying it's boring because I love to write, but it's like, okay, we got really good at catching deer. Do you want to just catch a deer for the rest of your life? Like, is this it? Is this it for the next, 50, 60 years? Or is there more? So as we keep our foot on the gas with the publishing house, we decided like, where else can we grow? So I had an opportunity to write comic books. So our first comic book is coming out. I had an opportunity to start working on films. So we started doing that, and films is fun and exciting. It's fun to be on set where so much could go wrong. I think there's something wrong with me mentally, because I know a lot of people would be scared. Like, days on set, there's like, $10,000 invested into this one day. So things have to work. There's no option. It not working is not an option. Like, it has to go. So every day we were on set for Infinity System, there's something going wrong, but it was fun to be able to like figure those out and keep on going.
How long did it take you to put that script together? And then what was like, how long was your production time for it?
Yeah, so it was June of 2021 that we started talking about the concept for Infinity System. And then by June of 2022, we were having our premiere.
Wow.
So within a year, we wrote, had pre-production. Production was only a week because it's a 33-minute pilot. So it was only a week long. And then it was like 5 months of post-production, going through the editing and adding the sound and visual effects and all that stuff.
That is fantastic. That's a great, that's a really, it seems very compact, like from conception to, debut for a year. It just seems really fast.
Yeah, it was fun. Like, I'm never not working. So like, even if I work 6 days a week. So if like on Saturday I finish the novel I'm working on, it's not like, okay, I'm done with the novel, I'm gonna take the rest of the day off. I'm like, well, I got 6 hours of work left in today. So what can I work on? Oh, might as well just, work on another script or start launching a new Kickstarter or something like that.
So it sounds like, I mean, you're just like, most of your day is occupied, like you're working on a novel or the TV show, and then maybe like another film project. It's just like, there's always something.
Yes, there's never not any work. That's what I tell people. Like, talked to my sister about this the other day. I'm like, hey, don't stress out and like stay at work longer than you have to. There's never not going to be work. There will always be work and something to do. Like, do the best job you can, finish your work day, but then leave, because there's going to be more work tomorrow and the next. It's not like you're going to finish it by like staying, X amount of hours late.
Right. Okay, so my last question, because this involves Justin as well. So how did the two of you connect? And then tell us a little bit more about the project that the two of you worked on. I mean, you can both answer this if you want.
Yeah, I think it was like Justin was saying, maybe 2016, 17 that we wrote it. So maybe it was like around 2015, maybe, that we met, somewhere around there. And it was through a large group of writers called 20 Books to 50K. That's their group on Facebook, I think, right, Justin? Is that right?
Yeah. Like, my books had been taken off with Anderley, and then I'd done 16 books with him, and so it was the same idea. Like, I was like, "Roll, this is cool. I think I'm gonna go do some other stuff now." So I went off and wrote a series by myself, and it took off well too. And then me and my buddy from grad school and my buddy George, who's a screenwriter who's done some cool stuff for Michael Bay and whatnot, we're like, let's start a series together. And then we did that, and that did really pretty well. And then we were like, let's bring in some other authors to do some fun stuff too on it. And so John was one of those guys, and actually was one of the ones who went fast, and so it actually did well, versus the other two that we brought in did not go fast. And like a year later, we were like, well, guys, we can put it out there, but it's probably gonna flop. And then it flopped, and then so Jonathan was our test case success story, and then we kind of fizzled off from there and went off and did other stuff. So, yeah. Good stuff. But yeah, I mean, like I said, Jonathan and I are kind of kindred spirits in that sense, where we're always off trying to do new things. I'm off doing a lot of gaming stuff. I want to get more into movies, and he's doing the movie stuff now. So let's focus on advice for people like me who want to lean more into the movie side of things. Like, how did you find these people that you're working with, and what are some lessons learned about, like, I don't know, people that you should gravitate toward? I don't want to say like, bad case scenarios, like lessons learned on the bad side, because then you might have to call some people out. But what are the good sides of lessons learned that you should be looking for teammates, people to partner with, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I feel like we met a lot of our close friends now in the film world by going to film festivals.
Nice.
And you can always like usually after you sit down at a panel and they have Q&A, you can tell by the level of questions being asked where people are in their journey, right? So not that there's anything wrong with it, but if after a Q&A somebody's asking like what formatting software should I use to write a script? They're probably earlier in their journey than some of the other people, right? But if somebody raises their hand and says, like I just launched my first studio and we're working on our third project and we have funding for it, but how do I go about approaching an actor? That person's probably further along in their journey. So that's kind of helped us like collaborate and meet some other people, because you always want to like hang out with people who are either at your level or higher than you are, right? Like if you're the smartest one in the room, you have a problem. You don't want to be in that room. Like I'm willing to help out, give advice to anybody, but like actually collaborating with people, you want somebody who you're, at least level with, or they're ahead of you.
Yeah. And I think that's great advice. And I was actually in a lot of my video game stuff. That's one reason I love it and why I'm interested in TV as well, because it's like being surrounded by people who could be your mentors, who could become your champions, who can become peers that you can partner with to go build good stuff. But you mentioned all these things going wrong. Do you have any stories that you can share about things that have gone wrong? This sounds like a job review question right now. How did something go wrong and how did you fix it? But I mean, do you have any like horror stories you can share?
Oh, for sure, man. Every day on set of Infinity Systems, something happened. So we filmed in January of 2022. So it was like the very end days of the pandemic. But because we were a SAG project, so SAG was still very strict on what could or couldn't take place on set. So like the masking and the hand sanitation and all that stuff, right? Very strict. So we had to test everybody, right? Everybody who came to set, we had to make sure that we test them daily. So we had 3 people who were part of our hair and makeup team, and one of them tested positive when she came in. And then there was another member who felt unsafe working because somebody had tested positive. So day 1, we're supposed to have 3 people hair and makeup, and 2 of them left. So we have now, a third of the force that we thought we would have for all these extras, for all the actors. And there was about 60 people on set on day 1. That was our biggest day. In retrospect, we should not have had our biggest day on set be day 1, right? We should have given ourselves a chance to work out all the kinks to make sure that, hey, maybe, have our biggest day on set with all the extras and all the extra people, maybe be like day 2 or day 3 or day 4, but it was day 1. So that was like one of the big things. We just had to figure it out. So the, our hair and makeup stylist that remained, we had one left. She was awesome. And then 2 of our producers jumped in to start just doing what they could. Like, I mean, they're not on the professional side, but they're used to, applying makeup to themselves and stuff like that. So they were helping out where they could. Even the actors, even the actors too. Some of the actors that we had been doing this for so long, they kind of understood like, how to apply like the base layer of makeup, or if somebody needed to be bleeding, he was like working on his blood, So everybody was pitching in and helping.
How many days of filming did you guys do?
It was 5 days. 5 days.
That's it. Oh man. Yeah, that's pretty quick.
Yeah, it was fun. The script was like I think it was, the whole project was 33 minutes, but with credits and the front, maybe it was like 30 minutes for the script, so about 30 pages worth of shooting. So we were shooting between like 5 to 6 pages a day.
And was money the main reason you decided to do a TV episode versus a feature?
Yeah. So right now I'm at the stage of my career where all our funding is coming from our readers, right? The fan base that has followed my books for the last 11 years. And they've been awesome. Like they funded Infinity System. The next project that we have, Forsaken Mercenary, is already funded. They funded that project too, right? It's happening. So I'm super grateful. But right now we only have funding to be able to do either a pilot or a short. We don't have the funding to be able to do, a full feature, not yet.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, for sure. I imagine you could do like a short one, like a 60-minute, but then people might feel like, what's this? Why is it only so short? But anyway, Actors Guild strike. It's official now as of today. So that's crazy. So is that going to affect your next project? Is it going to be SAG? I don't know. Was it supposed to be?
It is supposed to be a SAG project for Forsaken Mercenary. So I'm hoping by the time we shoot, we're supposed to shoot the end of October. So maybe by the end of October, things will have, eased down. They'll have an agreement, or who knows?
Yeah, fingers crossed. Last time it was pretty short, right? The last SAG strike. Anybody know? Like a matter of hours. I was looking it up today. The 1986 one was like 16 hours or something weird. Or I'm talking out of my butt. I don't know. But
I honestly, I don't remember that one. Honestly, I've been focusing on the Writers Guild strikes.
Yeah. No, it's pretty interesting because like as of tomorrow, I'm in LA, so like I'll be walking around. I'm going out to meet somebody for lunch. I was thinking I might go pick it as well for a little bit because it's fun. And you get to meet a lot of cool people. And last time I saw one of the actors from Big Bang Theory, and I'm like, oh, who will I see this time? It's kind of interesting. Like you're just walking along, you're like, hey. So yeah, entertaining time. So let's talk about your next Kickstarter, and then I'll turn it back over to Paul. So do you have any, like, what are your for people who are just like, hey, I want to check out this Jonathan guy and see what kind of giveaways he has? Can you give us kind of the spiel of the Kickstarter? What are some of the cool giveaways you're doing?
Yeah, so for the Kickstarter, we wanted to make sure that people felt appreciated, right? Like there were things on the Kickstarter that they would get excited about and really want to help support the project. So on the Kickstarter, there's anything from being able to co-write a short story with me, and we'll publish it. So they'll be able to see their name published in print. There's being an extra on set. So when we shoot the end of October, we invite them down. We'll make sure they have full wardrobe and costume. They'll sit in the hair and makeup chair and get that done before they have their time on set. There's the red carpet event. So we did one for Infinity System. We'll do one again for Forsaken Mercenary, inviting them out, and they can meet all the actors again, see everybody, and watch the show. So like everything cool that we could think of. Challenge coins. For some reason, people really like challenge coins. So we had a challenge coin, limited edition, wolf. That's our logo, the wolf. We had one of those for our group, and it was like our biggest seller by far of any merchandising item we've ever done. Yeah, so we're like, okay, this time around, let's throw in the coins too. People really like them. So I mean, there's so much more to it, like everything from like the original soundtrack to signed DVDs, signed posters from the cast, like everything that you can imagine, we crammed in there.
It's funny. I was talking to my other Marine buddy the other day, and I was like, in the military, we never heard about challenge coins. We've only heard about them once we started being authors in the author community. I think there must be a thing where they do that, but it's really just these people who wish they were military who are all about it.
Yeah, they love them, man.
Or there's some hardcore groups in the military that know about it, and I was just off on the outside doing my thing, whatever. But yeah, no, that sounds exciting and overwhelming. I'm like completely overwhelmed just hearing about it. So I don't envy the work that you and your wife and your team are going to have to do to handle all that. But yeah, Paul, you have anything you want to jump back in on there?
Yeah, actually, I just, Jonathan, I just want to talk to you kind of about your writing process. So you come up with an idea for a story. Like, how extensive do you develop it? Do you kind of like, okay, I think this would be a cool idea for a story. Do you just kind of like, is it linear? Just think, oh, okay, I want to include like this sequence and this sequence. And do you like compile it all from a big jumble of notes, or you just kind of like, okay, this is what's going to happen, and this leads to that, and this leads to that. Oh, this would be a good twist to throw in here. I mean, like, how do you put your stories together?
Oh, Paul, you're giving me too much credit. I wish I could say yes.
You got a dartboard? Is that what it is?
No, so basically I don't outline. So
wow.
I don't outline at all. I might have maybe like 2 or 3 things that I think will be cool. Like at some point, I want there to be like a shadow entity at some point. I think it would be cool if the character has an intense dream sequence or something like that. But it's usually just I just follow the story. I follow the character and see where he wants to go. I heard it best, I forget who said this, but basically like writing without an outline is, imagine that you're in the middle of the street at night and you're in this intense fog, and somewhere in the distance you see a glimmer of light in a street lamp. You can't really see exactly what it is because of all the fog, but you start making your way over there. And then along the way, you're like, oh, you didn't realize there was, 3 black cars parked on your left. And then a cat kind of like scares you as it like scampers across your path. And you start discovering these things as you travel through the fog towards the light. So usually I have an idea of like where I want the story to go. Like, okay, by the end of the story, he's going to be this type, these things are going to have happened to him. But other than that, I just, start traveling through the fog.
Okay, that's just fascinating because I'm like the total opposite. I need to I know I have to plan out what's going to happen in the story. I mean, it'll adjust over time, but I just marvel at people like yourself who are like, I just write and see where things take me. I just can't do that.
No, I think that's what's the cool thing about writing too, is like I feel like very few people have the exact same routine even, right?
Mm.
Some people write at night, some people write in the morning, some people have to have their coffee, some people write with music, some people don't, some people outline, some people don't outline. It's cool. It's cool to see like how it's almost like a thumbprint or a fingerprint for each writer, how they write.
Mm-hmm. And so you said like you've got a lot of other things going on. I mean, like how many have you got? Like several books in development, and I was looking at your website, and you have, you've got your sci-fi and you have your urban fantasy. I mean, is it every day is like, okay, I'm going to do a little bit of this, and the next day, maybe I'll go back to this thing I haven't worked on since last week.
No, so I work best if I can focus on one project, but because I can just focus on one project, I get the projects done quickly. So like I just finished writing my last sci-fi book before we jumped into this Kickstarter. So now I'm all about the Kickstarter, promotion, making sure that, we're all fully funded, that we get the film going. And as soon as like I feel like that's all under control, then I'll roll right into my next book. And if I can, focus and concentrate on a book without being distracted, I can usually write a book in about a month.
I'll look to Justin to see how that if that clocks.
Yeah, no, it works. I think it leads to burnout eventually, and it's exhausting. But it was definitely my system too. I'm enjoying my video game writing right now because it's more of a mixture of like plotting and thinking about things and having discussions with people, and then you get in and write, and like versus when you're writing a book a month, it's just blah, 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 the whole time. If you have carpal tunnel, that sucks. If your chair is uncomfortable, that sucks. These little things like your chair starts squeaking too much, and you're like, oh.
It was definitely it was difficult when I was trying to do a book a month, like month in and month out. Like before I had comic books, before I had built up a backlist to give me some stability before I got into film, that was hard. Like trying to go 12 books in a year, that was rough. Wow. But now I'm only releasing 4 books a year. So I built up enough of a backlist and a platform where I don't need to write a book every month anymore to support my family. I could do a book 4 times a year. So now but I still write, I still work the same amount. So even though I'm doing 4 books a year, I'm still writing a book a month. But now the difference is I have a couple months in between to work on film, where before it was always just books.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like where you have these breaks in between to do other stuff, and you're still being as productive and kicking butt and getting that creative zen going, but it's in a different format.
Yes.
Last thing I wanted to ask too was, okay, people who are gonna check out your books or go watch your thing or invest in your Kickstarter, they want to know, where's Jonathan going to be in 20 years from now? Are you going to be the next something or other, the next Jonathan Yanez? What does that mean in your head? Do you think you have a path, or are you like with your writing going into the fog?
No, I think so. I mean, if you asked me, let's say I've been doing this for 11 years. So if you asked me 15 years ago if I'd be here, like, there's no way. There's no way I'd be like supporting myself, writing novels. No way I'd be making money, with producing films, writing, producing films, acting in Infinity System. I'm gonna be acting in Forsaken Mercenary. Like, there's no way. So now I've realized, like, the truth is that there are no limits. There are no limits, right? Like, I don't think that you will be able to achieve things overnight. Like, it's going to take a lot of dedication and a lot of work, but whatever you're aiming towards, you can get there. So I've been looking at projects that scare me. Like, I don't want to play it safe anymore. Like, I don't play safe projects. That's why I'm not writing books anymore, right? I mean, not writing books only. If I only wanted to play it safe, I would only just write novels, because I know how to do that now and be successful at it. But I want to try different things. So Michael Crichton at one time had the #1 selling book. It was Timeline, the #1 movie, Jurassic Park, and the #1 TV show in ER. So I thought to myself, that sounds pretty hard to do. I'm going to do that. So I think trying to get a #1 best-selling book, a TV show, and a movie all at once. That's what I'm going to try to do in 20 years.
Good, cool. All right, Paul, anything else to close us out?
No, I think that's about it, Jonathan. This was fascinating. So I know you have a website. If you could please provide that URL for our listeners here.
Yes, it's jonathan-yanez.com. And then our Kickstarter, if you just type in Forsaken Mercenary, we'd love to have you be a part of it.
And are you on?
When does that go till?
Sorry, go ahead.
When does the Kickstarter end, so that people are listening to this after the fact, they know?
The Kickstarter will end August 10th.
Okay, cool.
And are you on social media at all?
I am. So Instagram and Facebook are probably the best places to reach me. On Instagram, it's author Jonathan Yanez. And then on Facebook, it's just my name, Jonathan Yanez.
Okay, excellent. Fantastic stuff. Jonathan, this has been fascinating stuff, and it's so motivational and inspirational too, to all the writers listening and watching out there.
Oh, trust me, I am an idiot. So if I could figure this out, I just didn't give up. Right? I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I just didn't stop. Like, I'll show up 6 days a week. And a lot of opportunities, Paul, I feel like I've gotten just because I wouldn't go away. I'm like, they'll be like, okay, this guy again. All right, let's just give it to him so he'll leave us alone.
So, so stubborn and determined.
What I think is great about your writing, and I see us again like similar. If you're like, I hate Justin, and I keep comparing myself to you, and it's an insult, I apologize. But what I think what's similar is that we're both like nice, happy, excited people. Like, neither of us are writing at like who's like an amazing writer with crazy prose, whatever, those people that we don't care about. We're writing at like great level, like fun levels that get people excited, and like it's a good story, and there's great characters, and they have heart, and it all comes together in this fun way. And that's what I like about your writing and your books. You know, neither of us are trying to write purple prose that nobody can understand, because who the hell wants to read that? Not us, not our readers. So yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah. Like, I'm writing Fast and the Furious. I am not writing Phantom of the Opera.
There we go.
Okay.
Cool stuff. And when this podcast goes live, you and I will both be at ComicCon. So if people are listening to this for the first time and they're in the ComicCon area, come say hi to both of us. We might not be together, but hopefully we'll at least cross paths as well. And if you find us together, you get a bonus. I'll find some giveaway for people who happen to find Jonathan and I at the same place. So
do you have any copies of Werewolves lying around? You can bring those with you.
Oh yeah, it's in print. It's still in print. Yeah, we should order some.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, Jonathan, once again, it's been great having you on the show. Is there any last minute shout outs or anything that we're forgetting?
No, I just want to say thank you for having us. And then Justin, like, I admire you too for just being consistent throughout the years, right? Like, you've never given up. Like, you've tried different things, but you keep on showing up. And I feel like as the years pass, I've seen so many writers. It's like, where are they now? Like, they didn't love the work. They didn't love the grind. So you remind me of a saying. The saying is, the man who loves to run will go further than the man in love with the destination.
Okay, there you go.
Right, because some people are just racing towards something. So as writers, maybe they're racing, just want to publish a book, or they're racing towards a certain money, a dollar amount, or a certain level of fame, whatever in their mind, but they don't love to write. So once they hit that, then they kind of die off. You don't hear from them anymore. Like, what happened to so-and-so? You used to write all the time. But with you, you've been consistent, man. So I admire that trait.
Yeah, there we go. We got to hang on there. And I agree. I don't understand how people do this who don't like it. It boggles my brain.
You've got to love it. Somebody told me, a new writer, I try to help people out as much as I can. So a new writer was asking me, he's like, okay, when do I start making money on my book? I was like, what do you mean? He's written one book. He's like, well, I need to justify all this time that I'm spending writing. I'm like, man, if you're looking to make money, or looking to justify time writing, you're doing it for the wrong reason. You should write because you love it. Write because you love it, and then the money will come. And I don't think he understood that. He was writing towards money, trying to get money. Right? Yes. I was laughing too. Like, I was trying to be as nice as I could to him. I was talking to him. I was like, no, man, love because you write. If you don't love to write, then you should not be doing this, because there's no money for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have stories about this too, but I'm not sure how to share them without giving away who I'm talking about. So I will not. But yeah, so thank you again, Jonathan, for coming on the show. And once again, listeners, go check out his Kickstarter. If it's already past the date, go check out all the stuff he's doing. If it's 15, 20 years from now, try to see if he'll still talk to us, because he's going to be in big places, like we all will. So thanks, Jonathan. Thank you, listeners. This is the Creative Writing Life podcast. If you can leave reviews, that's awesome. Spread word of mouth, all that fun. And let's see you at some events.
And thank you, Justin. You can check out my screenwriting blog, Maximum Z, at maximumz.blog, and check out my Go Ahead and Ask series of books on Amazon. I'm also on Twitter at maximum_Z. Like he said, he's Justin. That's Jonathan. I'm Paul. This has been the Creating Writing Life podcast. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, stay healthy, and most importantly, go write something.